After speaking with some of the residents and the homeowners in the affected subdivision, a lot of them were more concerned with not so much the cleanup, which of course I understand there's progress being made, but their properties being affected in the long term, some of the inconveniences that have been caused. One person mentioned having to go to the hospital a couple of times because of their children. And they're being told that the claims only cover the damages made to their property, and that it won't go any further in terms of hospital bills. Of course, and I know you guys are covering the hotel stay as well, but it won't go any further in terms of the hospital bills, the inconveniences beyond that. Is there any discussion being made in terms of what you guys are going to cover for these people?
Mark, you
that's a question for, I mean, again, I'm not familiar with any individual claim, but claim questions I really would like to direct to Karen.
Sure. I think it's a great question, and certainly something we want to understand the concerns of the residents. What I can tell you is that we have heard that there are some concerns about the short-term cost of the residents, and we want to address those. As you said, we're paying for hotel stays, we're paying for whatever is valid that they bring forward, so they should bring those things forward, and we want to resolve them to their satisfaction. So those short-term costs, we're very clear we want to cover the real short-term costs that we have caused. Secondly, the residents clearly have expressed to us and to local and county officials their concerns about the long-term impact on their property. And what I can tell you is we are committed to addressing their concerns. We're working through details, but we hear them, and we are working to address those concerns.
And I'm just curious, in the past, is this something that has been covered before? In other words, is it unusual for you guys to go beyond the short term?
You know, I think, well, thankfully, we don't have a lot of incidents. We surely don't want to be impacting residents. I think every case is an individual case, and honestly, I can't speak to how frequently that's been done, but what I can tell you, the realm of making people whole is complete for ExxonMobil, and we're going to listen to their concerns, and we're going to work through the details necessary to meet their concerns.
So there was 147 claims. Is there, you guys have a dollar figure on how much money has been doled out so far?
I don't have one.
We heard that some of the affected residents may be to move in toward the end of the week. Is that moved out?
We have, you know, I think when we put that target date, the first thing we did was like, look, we're going to be, what we don't want to do is give a hard date, because we're expecting 2 or 3 days of rain. I think we got 3 days of rain, if I'm not mistaken, and I think we'll probably know more in the morning at the next ops briefing. But at this point, I can tell you a lot of it is depending upon how much work we get done in the sunshine that we're actually experiencing today and tomorrow. And so I think we'll know more actually after the morning ops briefing. At this point, I'm not going to, at this point, just understand work accelerates when it's dry and sunny. And so right now, that date may move back and forth. So that's about all I can tell you at this point.
What exactly are they doing in the neighborhood today?
Cleanup. I haven't been over there. I've just a moment of levity here, not to take away from this incident, but I just returned from a funeral. So if I'm a little bit worse for the wear, maybe you can understand. But we are continuing final cleanups and working out logistical issues about how we're gonna continue operations logistically in a phased approach, where we still need people in there, but we want to get people in their homes, and the ones we can get in their homes, you know, I mean, we're going to be continuing ops in other areas. I would reiterate that the air quality readings, I don't know if we've touched that on that yet, but the air quality readings continue to be really good, either non-detects or below public action levels. And so we're still going to be continuing activities in areas in phase 2 and 3. And that means we have to have people and resources there. And I think right now a lot of it is geared toward final cleanup and gearing towards being able to get phase 1 moved in. I apologize, I'm not very clear with that, but it's an absolute beehive over there. It looks great. I took a resident in there last night. I just happened to be over there. Some family members brought me a plate of food. I was in the Northwood subdivision, and a member of, resident of the Northwood subdivision lived in the unevacuated area and asked me if I could help him get his fishing buddy's boat out of a house on North Starlight from someone who's evacuated because they wanted to fish today in this beautiful weather. I said, hold that thought. Can you get him on the phone? I happen to know the residents, or I'd recognized the residents, and security officers recognized them, and I knew them to be legit and legitimately living in that neighborhood. So he got one of the residents on the phone, the gentleman who owned the bass boat, and went in there, got some workers to stop what they were doing. Fortunately, there were no pieces of equipment in front of his driveway, and we got the boat. Actually, one of the workers brought I think they're called a side-by-side or a gator, backed up to the boat and took it over to the other house. And so, you know, you do that. We don't want to inconvenience those people at all, so we stopped what we were doing, went and got the boat, and took it literally one street over. And just to illustrate how much activity there's going on and the importance of the people who were evacuated. This was, I don't know, 10 o'clock or maybe even later than that last night. They stopped what they were doing, the workers did, and helped this gentleman get his boat. So the problem there was, the point I'm making is, was there a machine parked in front of his driveway? And I didn't know. I asked which address it was, and you know, we literally went and looked down the street to see if it was, and it was. I asked the task force leader, or the task force team leader over that division, and he said, no, it's okay. We'll get the guys out of your way. I physically took my hands in front of the resident, rubbed the asphalt as hard as I could, and there's nothing coming off of it. There's a little bit of dust, which is white dust from the cleanup. But there are issues like that. Hopefully that illustrates to you the logistical. It's a beehive. It's the best way I can describe that. So I would say there are probably 100 tasks going on at one time. So.
And let me just add too. We really get back to the point you made, Judge, which is we are really taking advantage of the good weather and the lack of rain, and we've made a lot of progress. And that helps us. The days of 2 or 3 days of rain we had last week slowed us down, and it has made it difficult to predict exactly when we can let some of when residents can get back to their homes. But that is really, we've made a lot of progress in the last 2 days, and hopefully we'll have some sunshine tomorrow. We'll continue, and that will start. The other thing we're doing is we are taking steps to reduce our presence on the street. You know, the judge talked about equipment and machines, and we know we have inconvenienced the residents because we had vehicles parked on the street. As we move along with our cleanup activities, a lot of that equipment actually comes off the street. We are also taking steps to carpool into the neighborhood now, and so that those residents who are not evacuated don't have cars parked in front of their homes all the time. So we're really working hard to try to get in a position so that they folks can make it back into their homes.
And I'm going to go here next, but I want to clarify one thing. I mentioned the rain and how much it slows you down. One of the things that we're doing or have been doing over the last few days is remove dirt, remove oil that's in dirt and contaminated soil. And you can't really do that if it's wet, or you're just going to make a mess. And it's actually counterproductive. So, there's nothing we can do about that. And so, just wanted to make a point about that. And so, we're looking at the radar all the time. We have the weather up all the time, looking at it, saying, are we going to get some sunlight? Are we going to get an opening? Can we get some, maybe a little bit of wind to dry the dirt out? And that's one of the last things that we have to do is complete getting that dirt out of there, because it's got the oil in it, and then there's the testing of that. So I'm going to go.